Hey everybody, it's Beth. Today I'm using this large plastic ornament from Dollar Tree as well as a tube that came off of a roll of vinyl. I take Mod Podge and apply that to the outside of the ornament. I do a couple of coats of that and make sure that's dried completely. It'll give it a frosted type look. Next I'm taking Tacky glue and I'm brushing that on a section of the tube. And this is a thicker cardboard. It's not as thin as, say, a paper towel roll. I add the paper to where I applied the tacky glue and I use some clamps to keep that into place. And I use my heat tool to get that pressed down. I also take some parchment paper and just make sure that's nice and smooth and fully adhered to that tacky glue. I then flip that over and apply the tacky glue to the rest of the tube. Once I have that fully applied, I then roll the paper around the tube and then add those clamps back down. Just keeps it into place while that glue is set. Again, using my heat tool to make sure that glue is dry. I use my X-Acto knife and remove the excess paper. I then add some of that tacky glue underneath the loose paper and make sure that is fully down. I sand off the excess paper on both ends of the tube. Then I'm taking this 4-inch plaque that is from Hobby Lobby, and this 2 3/4-inch wood ring is from Amazon. I paint those as well as this piece of plank wood from Dollar Tree with ivory colored chalk paint. And then I'm taking some of the paper that I had left over. I cut strips of that to fit on the edges of one side of the piece of plank wood. I add Mod Podge to the back of it, place it down, and then take the other two pieces and I'm just cutting the red area on that one. And I cut it down to fit in between those other two pieces on the sides. Once that is attached and fully dry, I sand off the excess. I then take the stencil I got from Amazon as well as Pixie spray, and I spray the Pixie spray on the back of the stencil. It gives it a light tack to keep it into place. I use black chalk paint and a stencil brush with a very minimal paint on it and stencil on the word North Pole. I do a couple coats of that, remove it, dry it completely, and then fill in the gaps left by the stencil. Next, I add hot glue around the ring and I place that over the opening of the ornament. And then take this string of fairy lights I get from Amazon and I string most of it through there. I'll need enough of the lights and the battery pack left out to go through the tube. And the tube itself is about 2 inches. That opening is about 2 inches. On the other side of the tube, I glue down the battery pack on the back of the tube where that paper, you'll be able to see the seam on it. I leave enough room to be able to turn the lights on. I add hot glue around the tube and place that in between that ring, covering that opening. And then hot glue the plaque at an angle on the pole. And then hot glue 4 tumbling tower blocks together. You just need to make sure that whatever width you glue together will fit within the tube. I hot glue one end of that to the plaque, add some hot glue to the top of those, and then slide that tube over those. And that is it for this project. Thank you so much for watching.